Mm-hmm.
Welcome, everybody, to Beyond the Trailer Park. As y'all know, I'm Beth. I'm joined with a host of people. We have Bridget Fitch, we have Bryce Blakenagel, and if I slaughter your names, I apologize. We have Riss, and of course, Miss Morgan. We have Susan Tribble, and we have Zach Law. We're here to celebrate our friend, our co-host, Heretic Woman, aka Dumb Taggart. But before we delve into the nitty-gritty, three pieces of laundry that I need to take care of before we get into it all. Beyond the Trailer Park will continue. I don't know exactly the format. It'll be very similar. There will be a few obvious changes for reasons. If you are a Spreaker listener, Spreaker will be discontinued for the moment. Reason being, if you are a Patreon supporter, I do not have access to our Patreon account. So therefore, I'm asking anybody who donates to Patreon to please discontinue, suspend, cancel. I don't know how it works. Any Spreaker donations, because I do not have access to them at the moment. I don't know if I will be able to gain access. That has not been on my list of to-do this week. So Patreon supporters, please suspend your payments, and regretfully, because of that, our Spreaker broadcast will also disappear for a while. Expect lags and glitches. I had a week to learn all the software that Deb used to do our presentation on air. I think I got it. I don't know, but I got it hopefully good enough that this will work.
Beth?
I only have one screen. So.
Beth?
Yes, dear.
Sorry, but we've got somebody who's watching the stream who's just let us know that your camera selection right now is selected right now on Sam, and you need to switch it over to your specific.
Oh,
so that people can see the so people can see the pictures.
Oh. Is that working? Let us know if that's working. As I said, I'm new to this, and the video montage will be playing throughout the show, so you're not going to miss any pictures. So, but yeah, expect glitches, as this is all new to me. Something I was learning, but obviously didn't learn far enough.
Just sitting here all awkwardly trying, just like, okay, eventually the slides will start, right?
Yeah, sorry, guys. I really, this has been, I feel like I was back in college all week cramming this stuff in my head, so. But that's it for laundry. If I think of anything, I will save it for the end of the show. So, here we go. This is something that in a gazillion years, I never did expect to have to put a show like this together. Ever. And as I know it is for all of you, those of you that are watching or listening at a later time, this is my worst nightmare. As you will find out, Deb, aka Heretic Woman, was one of a kind. And I do mean that literally and not in a bad way. As I pondered all week what to say, I literally got nothing. And I don't mean to say that I didn't have anything good to say about Deb or what she meant to me personally, but how do you sum up someone's life of 46 years? And in my case, how do you sum up the past 5 or so that I've been friends with her through the original AOA, and then obviously beyond the trailer park. Lump in my recovery from my strokes. It's a hard sell for me. You know, to say I wouldn't be here physically is a bit hyperbolic, but mentally, emotionally, intellectually, Deb was my boulder during recovery. But this isn't about me. With the slideshow, I tried to include as many of you as I possibly could. As I was telling the panel before we started, going through Deb's list of 4,000K plus friends on Facebook was a very daunting task. If you are listening or watching at a later time, please accept my apologies for not being included, or if I was remiss in contacting you about joining us tonight. One thing is I tried to keep the photos to those of us that were in the public sphere, with 1 or 2 exceptions. So if you were a private individual, knew Deb outside of podcasting, I probably did not include you in the photos, unless it was a group shot and you wouldn't be readily identifiable. And I did that for privacy's sake, because we do get trolls on Beyond the Trailer Park. Not very often, but often enough that it's really annoying. And I don't want any of you all to be dragged into that. If you want to participate, if you want to come on the panel live, contact any one of the hosts. Please do not contact me. I have my hands full. But any one of the hosts via Facebook. They will be monitoring chat also if you do not have Facebook. Let them know who you are, and they will send you a participation link. I'm doing this to protect from trolls coming on the show. That would really suck. So I guess I will start this off. You know, most of you know our backstory. Prior to Beyond the Trailer Park, Deb and I hung in the chat room of the original Atheists on Air with Cash and Professor Stephen, who I believe are both in the chat room at the moment, which is so honoring to know. After Cash had Lifus interrupt us, Beyond the Trailer Park was born. Hard to believe that we are coming up on 4 years, and we are almost at 200 episodes. Episode 181 or 182. Yeah, I'm real good at that. We've had Morgan, who is here with us tonight, Tracy, and Miss Ashley as hosts. And they all had a part in what we do. Many of you have been guests on our show. Many of you also have your own podcasts, blogs, and in some cases, books published. So I'm honored to have you all with us here to celebrate Deb's life. Now, while Deb and I primarily had a friendship based upon Facebook due to living 5 hours apart, I never thought of our friendship any differently than if she was physically present where I live in Pennsylvania. In some sense, we did a lot of stuff that we would have done if we were, you know, person to person. We would watch movies on YouTube together, documentaries, etc., especially if we were researching a topic for the show. We'd listen to pods together and, of course, you know, our show prep. The best fun I had, I mean, as far as memories, too many to list, was Deb's visit on her way down south, and it was the first time that we met in person. In fact, I think we did, I don't know if we did an entire show, but we tried broadcasting from my one-room apartment, and I got Deb in bed. My bed at the time was the only furniture I had. So it was really exciting to meet her, and Arnold, her husband, was with her at the time. So I think that was the best thing. We did New Year's Eve. We met up with Sue and Tiny Tribble. And a few months later was ReasonCon 3, which was my first atheist convention. And I met many of you there, some in passing, some like, who's that? I want to meet them. That would be you, Riss. And I did finally actually meet you in person down in Tennessee. So I don't really have one specific memory because Deb was a humongous part of my life. Everything right now is still blurred together. But her online debates really stick in my mind. And I know many people have commented on it. The tribute shows prior to tonight, everyone talked about her debates, especially with Islamic apologists. They were just epic. But not only that, I literally started to screen grab them to study. Not necessarily the theology, because anybody that's done any counter apologetic knows what a handful that is, but just her style, how she did things, how she literally shredded, the other person's argument. And yes, that is the nerd in me. What was bizarre and something her and I were working on was how she shredded people. In typical Canadian fashion, she was very polite. But that brings me to what her philosophy was, that know what your adversary wants, but don't fucking give it to him. So to start us off, I'm going to bring in Miss Morgan. And after Morgan, we'll shoot it over to Hugin, and then rest I'm going to have you start off with everybody else, and then you can pass it to who you feel you should. And if anybody has a time constraint that wants to come on to say something, please let them know so we can pull you in. Let's get this memories going. Morgan?
All right. Well, yeah, I got to know Deb through when I was on No Religion Required. She would pop in the chat as Heretic Woman, and she was known for her funny comments and jabs and jokes in there, and had a good time in there. And after No Religion Required, shortly after, I actually took Miss Ashley's place on here, who was then on No Religion Required, and I started co-hosting Beyond the Trailer Park. And yeah, as Beth said, she would tell me all of the debates she would have and what they would call the crazy group. And then there was the really, really crazy group, which, was full of people saying that they're water prophets and, all kinds of banana stuff. So we would always have good laughs about that. We shared a lot of interests in common. Both of us were history nerds. She actually a bit more of a different era than I. She was really into Elizabethan history, and also she loved Gothic architecture and loved anything to do with Transylvania. And I just remember really her kindness and just how open and welcoming she was. And we would joke about how I was probably, I'm Southern as hell, probably a better Canadian than she was, because she hated the cold, didn't care for Tim Hortons, and she didn't like Rush. And that's all three of my bags. So, and I love hockey too, and she didn't. But yeah, she was family to me. She was like a cool aunt that I could always talk to, that, we would always have these conversations. And yeah, she never backed down from a debate, though. I'll remember that. There's attorneys I know who would probably be scared to tangle with Deb. But yeah, I miss her like crazy.
Shoot.
I got my start through a couple of different methods as
Gotcha!
there's the collection. Perfect
Yep.
timing.
Yes, it was.
Heretic Woman and I both, a lot of us, got started because of Atheists on Air, and we had a blast. It was so much fun being able to talk with each other, type with each other through all that, have jokes with each other. And then as the time started to go on and we all had our individual reasons why we wanted to start our own projects, it became far more interesting for me to have her as one of my co-hosts. Because for me, I've tried to keep a fairly large panel, to have a panel discussion, to hash through ideas with the idea of having as many perspectives as possible. And having her as female, Canadian, an angry redhead. Well, she wasn't an angry redhead. She was just angry because she was short. That's scientifically provable. And she was truly someone that I respected and felt sometimes very inferior to, as far as to try to deal with arguments. When she followed through with an argument, and like was said, she was tenacious. She made sure that she had every avenue covered. Any new nook and cranny that somebody wanted to try to use for an argument. Okay, here's the reason for it. Here's the why of it. Here's why it's wrong. And I'm going to keep this as a new open browser tab on my computer. I cannot tell you how many times she would share something on her screen on my show. And as soon as she did, I'm killed. You got 26 tabs open. Yeah, on that browser. Pain in my
Yeah,
head.
we used to have contests.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. But you know what was the most important thing? It wasn't that she could turn an argument. It wasn't that she knew how to take down an argument because of repetition. It wasn't that she knew how to turn down an argument by getting the correct citations and backing for everyone. It was that she was simply a gregarious person. What she did was so much of who she was. She wouldn't be mean-spirited unless you went after her first. And then God help you. Or at least, your God. But when all was said and done, she truly is someone that I can say, how the hell did you not know that the remodeled Enterprise had LN64 model warp engines? You stupid. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You want to be a nerd? It's fine. I believe that I believe that the only thing that I could say at this point is, of all the souls that I've met in my travels, hers was simply the most gregarious. I think I've said more than my fair share between last night and tonight. So,
Okay, Riss?
I don't exactly feel worthy of speaking about someone that I only met a handful of times, and I've expressed some of that anxiety already because it blows my mind when I'm told that I was special to this person, because she was just out of this world unique. And I guess it's always a shock when you make that kind of an impression on someone that you admire for just being who they are so authentically. And I've wrestled with a lot of that in the last, week and a half or so. And I think a lot of us have. So I met Deb at ReasonCon 3, which was also my first convention. And not only do I remember her, but I remember specifically that she said she was buying one of my books for her adopted trans daughter, and that she wanted to introduce us. And then she did when I came on Beyond the Trailer Park. And to me, I don't feel like there's anything higher that I could say to speak of Deb. Then not only did she have the heart to see a trans girl who was in such need of a person like Deb to become a mother, an adopted mother, who cares? She was a mother to her. But to meet a person and go, you should meet my daughter, to me, I'm still reeling from that. And I knew 2 wonderful people instead of 1 because of that. And every time I met her, Shujin summed it up perfectly. I just don't have a lot to contribute personally because my interactions were limited, unfortunately. And there are more eloquent people who have already summed it up more than I ever could. But if the indications of how loved she was, what kind of a person she was, and the impact she made on so many people's lives can't be summed up by what people have already said, what people are going to say, and the mountain of messages that have been posted on her wall. They always say, do the best with the time you have because we're not given another chance.
Been posted on her wall.
I can't imagine anyone
They always say,
saying that she didn't.
do the best with the time you have because we're not given another chance. Been posted on her wall.
I can't imagine anyone
They always say,
saying that she didn't.
do the best with the time you have because we're not given another chance.
Okay, we had a little glitch there, but I'm going to interrupt because I know life is interruptus. And we have a super special guest in Cash Fierstein with us, who, for many of us, is the reason we do what we do. Cash, thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank y'all for inviting me. I am honored that y'all would let me come on here. I see some familiar faces. I couldn't really say anything more than what Shujin just did. It was beautiful. And Long Blackcock just sent me a message that Shujin had done a tribute yesterday, so I'm going to try to find that. And I want to say that I always looked up to Deb because she had the ability to remember things and spit them out quickly. And even though, and she was quick on the internet too with her 1 million tabs. And if you saw my screen now, you'd see that we probably have the same DNA. But I was always impressed that if something came up, and a couple of the times I got to debate, I had to prepare, and I had to, lay off the bourbon for a little while and really concentrate on what it was. And typically I shared stuff that I had just learned because that was all I could remember. The stuff from the night before last, I had slept since then, so that wasn't going to be as quick to the tongue. So I admired her and was even a little jealous because you see some of these people like Deb who could just pull it out just like it just flowed. And that never has been that way for me. And that's why I spent so many years in the 3rd grade, and they moved me on forward. It is an honor that, when I remember when Deb asked about Deb and Beth asked about using Atheists on air with the trailer park, and I was like, "Yeah, you're not going to charge us?" Because I was honored that they would, because they came onto the show and they talked on our show, and I was just excited that there was even anyone listening, and it was just amazing to me to see so many people like that took off and did their own things and were far greater than I ever did and could have ever been. But it inspired me, and it is an ego boost. It is. And you need that when you get, near as old as I am and 10 kids in, you start losing your mind, and every little bit helps. Deb, I believe, if my memory is correct, I first met her in Missouri at a convention. And then it was later at the Reason Con thing. And I think those are the two times. And so the person that said earlier that they don't feel, that they only met a few times. I remember when, Christopher Hitchens died, and I never met Christopher Hitchens, but I loved him. And the same goes for Deb. I loved her, and I was always I looked up to her. I looked up to the fact that she was witty. She didn't get mad. She had that. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing. I hear that it is, but I've known some asshole Canadians. But she was able to be respectful, but she could bury you. She could bury you with her knowledge, and she stored that well. If she didn't store it well, I want to know what tabs she had up and how quick she could read them, because she was able to do it. But I've seen her in person in confrontations where she did it. When we did the Missouri, I say I had no part of it, but I went to the Missouri convention, and I don't even remember the name of it now. But there was a Conservative Housewives of America convention going on at the same time, and it was a bunch of Christian women, and we got into some debates, which was kind of fun. And so I like I just look up to people like that. I look up to people like Shujin. I look up to people like Professor Stephen, who knows this stuff and just can just put it out there. I hate that it brings home when somebody when somebody you love, you lose at an early age, because she's young. She was 46, I think that is 72. And that's super young, and I don't understand it, but I'm glad. I'm thankful that I got to be a part of her life. I'm honored that I got to be a part of her life, and I'm thankful for the ripples that she left that will go on forever and ever and ever, ripples that we won't even know that she's touched, helped, bent the minds of, injected doubt in, and helped create more free thinking people in the world, and showed them a different side of atheism, because of the smile, because of the laughter, because she looked harmless, but her brain was powerful and her mouth was even mightier. And I love her. I love y'all. I thank you that you'd let me come on here and do this. And I guess that's it. I appreciate it.
Well, just to add to what Cass said, his show was obviously the inspiration for Beyond the Trailer Park. But for me personally, there was a guest he had on. The name is disappearing from my mind, but he was a young man out of Texas. If I remember correctly, he was a person of color, and he was gay. At the time, I was going by the name Sane Spirit, because I was going through a really, really rough patch. Dave Foda might remember this as well, when I used to use that name in chat. And he came on and told his story, and I'm sitting here in my little well, I was in a different abode. And I'm thinking, fuck that shit. This is a person who can't speak out because of life situations. I can. I'm not afraid anymore. My name is. And on Cash's show, I said, I'm Beth Ambridge. I live in Warren, Pennsylvania. Come fucking get me. Because I'm going to speak when I can for people that can't speak for themselves. And that's something Deb and I held in common. And as a couple of our panelists know, she was a friend, ally, defender of those of us, well, not me, but for those that could not speak for themselves or who gets sick, for lack of a better word, of repeating the same shit over and over. We are people. Doesn't matter whether you're gay, you're lesbian, you're trans, you're bi, whether you're a person of color, whether you're an immigrant. Now, granted, Deb did live in Canada, so things were a little bit different up there than they are down here in the States. She didn't care. You were human, and she always treated people that way. And I pity the poor fool who would argue against that. And in a way, Cash is responsible for that.
If I may?
Yes.
Real quick, Cash. Since you are here, and unfortunately we didn't get the chance to talk with you last night, and you'll end up hearing it all later, and Stephen will back me up on this. We over at Holy Crap, we here over at Beyond the Trailer Park, Dave, Deb, Beth, myself, my co-hosts, and too damn many other, we all knew full well that we attributed it a lot to you for your start. Even if you think that we've all surpassed you in some way, bullshit, you started this whole damn thing. When all is said and done, it's your fault. You need to own up to this. So, on behalf of all of us, thank you.
I thank you, Shujin. I appreciate it a bunch. I don't think you surpassed me. I think you started off ahead of me. I was this dumbass hillbilly, and the only thing I had going for my show was Professor Stephen. And so, you know, I baited everybody saying Professor Stephen's going to be on the show. And,
I appreciate that, Cash, but you really had to bring a lot to it too. You know, charisma counts for something.
Well, I thank y'all again, and I love you. And even those that I don't know, I love you. And I thank you for doing what you do, for being a part of the groups, for being the contributing in any way you can, whether it's by listening, by sharing, by learning, or by actually running some of these podcasts, because they're a lot of work. And I just thank you. I hope I get to meet all of you.
I think what we will do, Stephen, I can't. Oh, there you are.
Yes.
I'm talking to these little icons because I have the slideshow. I'm going to have you go, and then we're going to take a wee break. I'm going to play, hopefully, everything is hopefully, if it works. I have stored some clips of Deb on various shows, and that way, if anybody needs to do what anybody needs to do, cigarette, you know, that kind of stuff. It'll give you some time to do it. The slideshow will stop, and then I'll play that. I haven't figured out how to play them both at the same time yet. I'm getting there. But, so we'll have Stephen go. I'll play 3 minutes or so of the audio, and then we'll come back, and we will go to Dave Foda, and then Bryce and Zach, and whoever else Fusion brings in. Just so you know, so we're clear, get a hold of Shujin. He's doing all the communicating for me with people that want to join us. I'm having my hands full trying to do all this, but it's fun. Gotta admit. So go ahead, Professor Stephen, and then we'll
Thank
continue
you.
From there.
I'm happy to be on your show again.
Well, I wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah,
but
me too. That's what I was getting at. I was listening to some of your back shows today while I was working and while I was taking my lunch break, and the laughter, the sheer joy. Specifically, Dave Foda mentioned episode 21. I listened to that episode. It was absolutely hilarious. I do have a question for you, Dave. The guy who they tried to make his arm longer. So he said that the right one was always a little bit longer than the left, and so when they asked him if they were the same size, he said it was still longer, and so they apologized because they thought they had elongated the wrong arm. Is that how it went down?
Yes. That's exactly right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
You
you
guys
sound
hear
fine.
me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I got new gear, so I'm trying to play with it. But yeah, that's exactly how that one went down. And that was just one of a whole host of absurdities that went on with that episode. But that by far is my favorite episode of all the BTTV episodes.
It's good to hear her laugh, you know. I mean, she has such a good laugh. It was infectious. And
it's infectious. Yep.
Yes. And here's the thing. People die. And it used to be 20,000 years ago, after a generation after their death, they were gone. The universe was done with them. But we have this technology now. She's going to live on for a long time. We're going to get to hear her laugh at that idiot who thought that he was making someone's arm longer, or she thought she was making someone's arm longer for a long, long time. And that's the beauty of this technology that science made, by the way, religion contributed nothing to. I'm sure she would appreciate that sentiment. I also want to point out I'm wearing my my Starfleet Academy pin because I knew she would appreciate that. We all went to the same academy. Right. Yep. And I have to say, we talk about her being fiery because that's a stereotype of a redhead, right? Being fiery. And she definitely was a person of energy and a person of passion. I don't know that it requires red hair to be that. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. And I don't know that all redheads are fiery and passionate, but she definitely was. But another stereotype of redhead is that they're mean. She's not mean. I mean, she'll defend the people she loves like a damn pit bull who just had his house broken in on. But that's not a mean pit bull. That's a good pit bull. And she was like that. She was a good person. She never wanted to hurt people. The whole point to her taking down Theists was to help people. Because she knew, like we all know, that theism, that specifically American style Christianity and Islam, are dangerous ideas that lead to suffering, that lead to persecution, that lead to good people being bigots. And she knew that it had to be opposed with whatever we could possibly do to oppose it. And she did everything she could, which is a lot more than most people could, I would have to say. She was pretty amazing. And I just want to say I'm so glad that I got to know her. I'm so glad I met her at multiple Reason Cons. I always look for her. I'm always, where is she? She's going to be here any minute. And I know she's going to want me to hug her. I'm just waiting for it. Where is she? There she is. It was always, no matter how I was feeling, I always felt better after I saw her again. And I'm going to continue to listen to reruns of this show. And I'm going to continue to enjoy her presence, because if you think about it from a sort of holistic scientific point of view, she is permanently imprinted on the space-time continuum. And in that way, she is immortal. The materials that she was made out of, the dynamic living material she was made out of, will never not have existed. It always will have existed. And in that way, she's like a memory of the universe. And she's one of the good ones, one of the good memories. And that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
One thing to add to Professor Stephen, she was able to go on her West Coast trip in the States this past year to the Star Trek convention. And Nichelle Nichols has been, to say an idol might be overkill, because we all know idols do fall, but an inspiration. not long after I had, or before, I can't even remember the timing, she had a stroke around the same time I did. 3 months later, she was able to fly on a special project with NASA. Now, she didn't actually go into space, but that border between the two, I think it's the lithosphere, correct me if I'm wrong, Stephen, but 3 months after having a stroke, she's flying in a fucking spaceship. And it was such an inspiration for me because I was struggling, as many of you know. And I've always held that as kind of my kick in the pants. Well, she went to this convention. There's William Shatner. What timing? She got to meet William Shatner. And she purposely tried to meet Nichelle Nichols, which there's a slide of that as well. But best of all, at least from my perspective, or for my perspective, is she was able to get an autographed copy of Nichelle's photo as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek. And many of us grew up in the Star Trek era. I didn't know she was doing this, and she goes, "Oh, there's a package in the mail." And I'm like, okay. And she wouldn't tell me what it was. I think she did finally about a day or two before it came because it hadn't come yet and she was getting worried. And she told Nichelle my story and how she was an inspiration, and she said that Nichelle was very touched by it. So even there's no, this was not planned. That photo right there sums up, you know, a lot of what Deb meant to me. You know, of you. So I'm going to attempt to start the audio clip. If you guys need to go do something before we come back, we will. And I forgot the order already, so we'll start with Bryce afterwards because Bryce is in my main view. So here we go. Come on. There we go.
Beth, do you have the audio playing at this point?
Is it not playing?
It is not.
Oh. Whoops. Oh, come on.
Well, while you wrestle with your equipment, were you referring to the exosphere?
Yeah, someone fill in the dead air here until I figure out what the hell I did.
Were you referring to the exosphere as the outermost part of the atmosphere?
Ah, yes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Why is it not playing?
It might not be playing through the Google chat. It might just be playing through your headphones. Are you hearing it?
Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry, guys. As I said, this is all new for me.
If there's one thing that we all in this group have learned, it's that you can never, ever expect any show to go off without a hitch, because equipment issues will always be an issue.
Trust me.
Always.
I know this intimately.
Why is it not giving me my control panel?
You guys need something to gawk over for a second. I'm kind of embarrassed. Before the show started, I had no idea who Cash was.
Well,
Cash.
Okay, for some reason this is not broadcasting, so I'm going to have to nix this part. But what I will do is, after the presentation, I'm making a montage of the video and any audio that I added in so y'all can hear it. And what was funny is someone mentioned her infectious laughter. While I was going through these clips, trying to pick out chunks to play, I think on every show she was on that I found was her laughter. So for those of you that sent me tributes, that would be Trish and I think Fusion. I don't know if yours is going to play either at the end, so we might have to finagle.
Worst case, I know how I can make it mine work at least.
Okay, so we can do that. I apologize. I thought I had all the kinks out. So I will be making a clip with the video and the audio that I had planned to play as a separate video. So you'll be able to watch it or listen to it. So, Bryce,
yeah,
go for it, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm actually really glad to be sharing this panel with Cash and with Professor Steven because I mean, there's no other way to say it, but you two started a groundswell. You started an indie movement of podcasters, and that's where basically everybody on this call and everybody that will be cycling through the call tonight started. That's where we all met each other. That's where we all began interacting with each other, listening to each other's voices during live call-ins. It's really because of that core initial group that we have to thank for so many podcasts and so much content creation that's out there right now. And Deb was one foundational interlocking piece of that puzzle of group of friends that started all of that. Personally, the first time I met her was at ReasonCon 2. And then we spent a lot of time at Reason Rally together, and then at ReasonCon 3. I know that I'm forgetting one or two other in-person interactions, but where I really cultivated a deeper friendship with Deb was always on online interactions. It was always in Facebook Messenger, or her talking on my shows or me talking on her show. That's where friendships in this day and age are now cultivated. Right. And I consider myself very lucky to be part of that initial group that came out of Atheists on Air, because that's a group of friends that I never would have known existed had I not, stumbled upon this group, had I not tried it out and listened to the podcast and then listened to other people contributing to it. And those are friendships that I now consider lifelong friendships that otherwise just would be completely absent from my life. And that for some reason it almost seems that the world is somehow denigrates online interactions because they're not face-to-face in-person interactions. Like somehow a friendship that's cultivated online is less valuable than a friendship that's cultivated with somebody in your neighborhood. But I don't think that's true. And where I feel like Deb and I really connected was by talking to each other for hours and hours online and almost never being able to actually see each other in person and interact face to face. And that, I don't know, I don't think that there is any value in trying to quantify the value of friendships that way, because those friendships are just as genuine as any other friendship that we cultivate in any other setting. And with that, it feels hard to understand what to do in this case. When you have a family member die, when you have a friend die, you may be geographically located nearby and you can go, visit their family and spend time mourning with each other. But we all live hundreds or thousands of miles apart, and this is the only way that we can grieve together. This is the only way that we can heal together from this hole that is left in our group of friendship, our group of friends. And that's tough to do. And, because we're atheists, we don't have an easy, I don't, it may be a misnomer, but a get out of grief free card. Because if we go with the religious claims, it's like, oh yeah, it hurts right now. You're feeling grief. You're mourning for the loss of this person right now. But when you die, you get to go up to heaven and you get to see them again. And we don't have that to fall back on. And we just kind of have to take this right in the face. It's really, it's something that, I don't know, it's not something that is easy to wrestle with, but it's something that I feel is a more direct way of wrestling with these things. And that's something that I'm really trying to struggle struggling to try and wrap my mind around is how to deal with this idea that Deb isn't just gone and will be, that we'll meet up later, after we die, but that Deb is just gone. And that's something that's very hard to deal with. And in addition to all of this, it's like we all have our blood family, our blood relatives, and we all have differing opinions about our family members, but our family outside of our blood relatives is the family that we choose. It's the family that we spend time cultivating. And for that reason, I consider Deb to be a part of my family, and I've lost a family member. And I consider all of you to be a part of this one same family. And there is a massive vacuum in this family now. Somebody who was always on the front lines, who was always quick to battle and, stake a claim and stick to it and be a vicious defender of those in need of defense and make friends with those of us who were worth making friends with. Deb didn't take any half measures. She was always in 100% all the time. And that's what made her the most authentic and incredible person to talk to. And I'm not like a lot of you. I don't have stories with Deb beyond, well, we were at this conference and we sat and talked for hours. Those are the stories that I have with Deb, but because of how I am, that's what I cherish the most about our friendship. And that's what is the hardest to overcome, is knowing that the next time that I go to an atheist conference, that Deb is not going to be there to sit and talk with for hours. And I mean, we truly lost a force for good. We lost a soldier on the front lines, and there's no going back. There's no bringing her back. So the best that we as atheists and skeptics can do is immortalize her, memorialize her, and just show everybody how much we appreciated her presence when she was here, and just honor her legacy, because that's all that we have of Deb now is her legacy. And we have her to thank for that. So Deb, thank you for being who you were. And it sucks for all of us. It sucks to say goodbye, but you truly were an incredible human being. You were not good. You were great. You were not awesome. You were utterly and completely amazing. And we all are going to miss you a lot. And yeah, that's my piece.
To add to that, Morgan can attest to being at a con and talking for hours. You know what I'm going to bring out, don't you, my dear?
Yeah, we literally kept saying, "Oh, we're going to go to bed. We're going to go to bed eventually," and we just kept talking all night about just everything you can think of. I don't even know. We talked about, the people following Jordan B. Peterson. We talked about, the alt-right nonsense. We talked about skepticism and,
I don't think there was a topic we didn't talk about.
I really don't.
I mean, it was like 2:30. We're like, oh, we better get to bed. 3:30. Oh, yeah. The next time we looked, it was like freaking 5:30 in the morning. And I think the first speaker was at 8. It was like really insanely early for 2 night owls. Morgan, I'm not quite sure what type of hours you keep, but being that you have a real job as compared to me who works second shift, we were like, yeah, we better get to bed. And I was still going through recovery and yada yada yada, so I, muscle wise, sitting up was very difficult for me. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to lay down on the couch just to get my feet up, because I do have edema from all the issues. And it was like 5:30. Well, here I'm laying. I crashed, and those two kept going.
Yeah, we did. We kept talking and talking and talking. And eventually, it was like I didn't even know if I should even go to bed at that point, and I just
Yeah, I
like
don't
slept
think
for
either
literally
one
like
of you
30
did.
minutes. Yeah, I maybe slept for 30 minutes, but I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world.
Oh no, and that's the thing. I mean, like her and I, even online, I literally would talk to Deb 3, 4, 5 times a day. There was one day that I remember we were in PM literally the entire day. And that's just the way it was. Her and I would get talking, and a lot of it was show prep, or show ideas or guest ideas or stuff like that. But she was really into I don't know if combating is the right word, but specifically Mormonism, which is where Bryce comes in, and also Scientology. And I had a few contacts that were ex-Scientologists. She developed a relationship with, good Lord, I forgot his name. He's out of Ireland. I'm sorry. He's been a guest on our show like twice. Peter Griffin. And so we would talk about that, and of course we talk about Leo Remini's show on A&E.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and the next day, oh shit, I gotta go to bed. I'd go to bed at like 5, 6 in the morning, get up at 11, and she'd still be online. And I'm like, what? Couldn't you sleep? She's like, no, I'm still up. She was arguing 99 out of 100 times with either an Islamic or a anti-trans twat. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, and it's like, I'm finishing up now, and I'd lay back down or do whatever and go back online, like an hour later, and she still was on there. So yeah, she was good at that.
Yeah, if you ever had insomnia and you wanted to have a lively conversation, Deb was always there for that. And
oh yeah,
that's something I'll
sure.
always remember her for.
Yep. Zach, you're up, my man.
Oh sure, I can follow all this. No problem. Well, the hardest part of joining this community is going through experiences like this, but without the positive memories, it really wouldn't hurt as much. I just love that so many shows start at the same time, because I think I'm at 179 this week and this is 181. And we just all kind of we're in the same class at school together. And so Deb, aka Heretic Woman, aka Fuck Muhammad, but not literally, she was on my show 5 times, and I haven't had a lot of 5-timers. I originally met Deb at ReasonCon 2016. I was wearing a Koranify Me t-shirt when she suggested I join her, Dave Foda, and a motley crew of people I had previously known only online, and we went to a cemetery. In that cemetery, Dave performed a skit that was videotaped. Please tell me that tape exists somewhere. And he was dressed like a Jedi with a lightsaber, and I knew at that moment I had met my people. I last saw Deb at last year's NanoCon and the amazing wedding of Callie and Celeste, and it's sad that this year's NanoCon she won't be there. And I'm still kind of numb at what happened to her. We all said this, just don't expect this sort of thing to happen. So I love you, Deb, and goodbye. And I'll let some other people come on and chat as well.
So, I just expanded my screen and realized that Deb's husband was in the background with Sammy. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay, hon. Just a breath. You can do.
Yo, this is Deb's husband. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm done talking, or if you're just having trouble getting the words out.
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear him okay?
I'm sure we can work through it. We'll just all make sure that we're all muted out, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try now.
Okay. What can I say? It's been like, for me, it's been amazing, pretty amazing 9 years. Almost didn't happen. 9 years, 8 years, end of 2010 to now. 8 years. Almost didn't happen. Like about third date, some of her quirks came to light, and I said, I can't handle this. Just about called it off. Just about threw in the towel. She kind of talked me out of that. And yeah, it's a pretty amazing part of my life. Almost didn't happen for that reason. I've written my piece in the funeral cards. And basically, just to summarize, I'm like 10 times the man, just no one loved her. You love somebody, tell them, whether it's through words or gestures, actions, whatever. I do it today. Or gestures, actions, whatever flows from you, you know. Very, very last night we spent out was a stormy night here, and her ride failed to Hamilton. That's like about 45 minutes in good weather. Took maybe an hour and a quarter in the snowstorm that we were having. Ride failed, so I don't know. But she wanted to go, and I agreed to drive her. And she was happy, with friends, excited about the wedding. We got home like quarter after 1. I turned in at 3, and woke up about 7:30, and that was too late to do anything. I think she was already gone. I'm not a professional. I tried to feel a pulse, and I think just felt my own. There was something else I was going to add. I'm really touched by I always gay and transgender friends. It's only hit home since her death just how much they loved her back. And I'd really like to thank you for, well, everyone who's spoken up and given support. Oh, yeah.
While Beth is Beth is pulling herself together, I just want to say, as I said for you over on Facebook, thank you for allowing us to continue to have you as part of our family of choice. There's no other possible way that we could have you guys, and thank you for letting us help you any way that we can. Please do not ever feel that you couldn't ask for any little thing. Mm-hmm. We'll try our best for you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I can be a slobbering idiot at times, but I think Arno knows this, how much I cared about that voice. It's a shock.
It's okay, hon. Just take a breath. For those of you that are maybe haven't had to wrangle a collection of people before like this, or host a podcast like this, when you try to hold in all these emotions at any one time, it is not easy to make it through these. I've done my fair share, so please just be patient with us.
Actually, as I was starting to get the ball rolling on this, I and I think Arnold might agree with me on this, maybe not, but as I was going through the clips and the photos and who to include, who to exclude, I tried not to exclude anybody. Okay, there was one person, but be that as may. I was like, Deb's gonna fucking kill me for this. But it was like, this is the impact she had on my life. And I don't know too, because you know he would pop in during shows. He would pop in when Dub and I were online chatting or whatnot. So I kind of knew what was going on, and I always used to joke with Deb that Arno was the strong silent type. And I'm just so honored you're here. I know that sounds really silly, but for some odd reason, for all the years I've known Deb, I never connected with Arno on Facebook.
Right.
So,
I think we have
but
now.
yeah, I think I did. I don't know if I sent a friend request or not, but I didn't want to do it during this week. I wanted to wait and then I'd send you one. But yeah, this is the impact Deb has had on everybody, not just me, not just you, or well, I don't know. It's a different ballgame because that's her fucking husband. Greg, I know, has been a rock. Besides keeping everything kosher, for lack of a better word, over in Canada, he's also kept all of us in the loop as best as he could. And I think, for all of us, I think I can speak for everybody, we really greatly appreciate it. And that's it. Even though Deb and I were connected via Facebook, that 5-hour difference made things difficult. So, but now that I'm done being a blubbering idiot, let's bring in Tony. Are you there, Tony?
Yes, I'm here, and I doubt I can top anything anyone has said here tonight, but I'll give it a shot. My name is Tony. Of course, I go by the YouTube name Atheist Ranger. That's why I have the very awesome Power Ranger logo here. Of course, I actually found this podcast actually with my with my recommended list on YouTube. So that's how I found this lovely podcast. And yeah, that's pretty much how I found Heretic Woman and even Beth. I started watching their show. I started being in their chats. Unfortunately, I don't have any personal experiences with her outside of YouTube, unfortunately. Although I probably should have. I mean, I only live probably 2 hours from the Canadian border. But yeah, Heretic Woman was absolutely amazing. She was more of a history nerd than me. I didn't think I'd find anyone that was more of a history nerd than me. Of course, she liked as different areas than I do. I absolutely love Egyptian history. But yeah, she and I used to the both of us were just a bunch of history nerds talking together. And I think the the first time she was on my channel, I'm sorry, it was just she and I have been friends for so long on YouTube, I forget when was the first time she was on my channel. She's been on my channel numerous times, though, just to kid around. And I think that actually, yeah, the first time she was on my channel, I was I was showing a G-Man video, and of course, she and I just laughed at that hysterically. And yeah, but I can't really top anything anyone has said here tonight. So all I can say is, Deb, aka Heretic Woman, you were an amazing person, a very amazing person, and probably shouldn't say this in a room full of atheists, but I'll just go ahead and say it anyway. If there is a heaven, I think we all can agree you are definitely there.
Yeah, atheist, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are part of the Great Debate community, correct?
Yes, I am. And just one more note, Steve McRae asked me to offer, because he couldn't make it here tonight, unfortunately. Steve McRae has offered his condolences, and he is he himself is pretty shocked by her passing, and he does wish to offer his condolences. But yes, I am.
Okay, and the reason I mentioned that is besides Beyond the Trailer Park Full Chronic, which she had put on hiatus because reading the Quran was like, well, it was bad. She needed a break. And also doing Holy Crap and guesting on various shows, she was also very active in the Great Debate community. And she kind of enticed me. I watch quite a few of the shows when I can. But you would hear on our show, especially, I don't know how much she mentioned it on Holy Crap, various. But yeah, the G-Man episode was a big one for her. Her and I would talk endlessly about G-Man. He's a YouTube character that is him and Nephilim Free was another one. We would just shake our heads because it was just, they were just so bad.
I know, like when I first introduced Heretic Woman to my personal circles, and I told them that the first video I showed her when she appeared on my channel was Heretic Woman. Was G-Man. A lot of my own personal inner circles got, I wouldn't say necessarily angry, but slightly annoyed. She's like, I think most of my inner circles were like, okay, this is the first time this person's been to your channel, and you show her a G-Man video. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah,
like, she wanted to see it.
Yeah, I think I was aware of G-Man. I've gotten into tussles with him before, kind of, sort of, on YouTube. But, yeah, she was just amazed at his, I don't even know how to phrase it, lack of
awareness.
Yeah, awareness. That's a good word. Thank you. But, yeah, she was amazed because, as most people know, I follow the Fringe, and I follow the Fringe right. Conspiracy theories and all that, and she was just totally amazed by some of the people I would come into contact with, and then she got introduced to G-Man, and I was like, oh, you're in for some enlightening, for lack of a better word, enlightening conversation with him. Josh.
A human being completely impervious to facts.
Exactly.
There you go. That's another good way of putting it. But yeah, it's just it's amazing that and as I said in the beginning, while she was shredding you to pieces, or your argument, I should say, not you specifically, she would do it so politely.
And I was gonna say, I'd like to just one more thing. I forget who said this exactly, but about Heretic Woman being immortalized. If it's okay with Beth, I would definitely like to immortalize her on my channel by mirroring this lovely tribute, which was better than mine. Mine accidentally got cut off because of my own stupidity. I'd definitely like to mirror this tribute to my channel if it's okay with Beth.
Well, any of our material, you guys are free to, anybody are free to use. As I said, I will be posting, hopefully, the slideshow, and I will be posting the audio clips of various shows, and I didn't get them all. Trying to track them down without knowing specifically what show she was on was really kind of difficult. Plus, I work full-time, so I had to do this in between sleep and work. But yeah, you're free to use any material. The only thing I ask is that you attribute it to Beyond the Trailer Park, as and I appreciate all the tributes that have come before. I attempted to do Tony's, but I was kind of a slobbering idiot.
You upset? It's fine.
It was funny because Tony sends me invitations every week to join his hangout, and 99 out of 100 times I'm working, or I just got home from work, and the first thing I want to do is go to bed because fatigue is an issue for me. And I wasn't going to join, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to, for Deb, so to speak. And I did okay in the beginning, but then I became a slobbering idiot. But, yeah. Contrary to belief, I actually do have emotions. They're just a little odd. But yeah, and I know I will say this at the end, but I do appreciate everybody who has come on, everybody who is in chat. I'm not monitoring chat because I'm not that coordinated. But so let's see. Who do we have new? Oh, Left at the Valley. You are up next. And
All
Greg,
right.
interrupt if you need to.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, I feel a bit like the outsider. I guess first of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be able to come and join you here tonight. I don't know the majority of you guys. I do know Beth. I did know Deb. Zach, who's gone, but Cash, Professor Steven, all that. I'm afraid I don't know you guys. My name is Kevin. I am the host of the Left at the Valley radio podcast. I'm another one of those Canadian podcasters. So right off the bat, when I met Deb, I guess there was a bit of a kindred spirit between Canadians, I guess. And what I have to say about her is, although we never met in person, I really regret not having the chance to do so. She was a bit the embodiment of what we like about secular atheists, the community. She was open, willing to listen. She was bold, a bit fearless. So she wasn't just what we like about it, but also what sometimes we aspire to. So at the same time, yeah, I guess that's pretty much what I have to say about her. And I did invite her on the show a few times, and I'll always remember the time where she came on our show, and we were at CIVL 101.7 FM, and she mentioned on the radio that she was wearing her glory hole shirt. And on the spot, I asked her, you try to put her in a bit of a bind and say, well, can you explain to the audience what a glory hole is? And she did, without missing a beat. She totally did, live on radio. I thought that was just so precious. And she was always there to, if you needed something, because God knows all you podcasters will be able to tell me, you're about to do a show at the last minute, your guest drops out. It happens to all of us. Anybody who's done podcasting knows this. But you could always call on Deb at the last minute and say, hey, my guest kind of dropped out. You want to fill in? And she would. And I really, really appreciate that of her. So she will be greatly, greatly missed. And, I sure hope that a bit like the mythical Hydra, as one of her is gone, I'm hoping that two of us will jump in and replace her. So that's all I have to say, really. So thank you so much for allowing me to have time to say this, guys. I appreciate it.
Actually, I remember I actually had a clip of the glory hole issue, and before I heard it again, I should say. And I'm sorry, I was reading something. Yes, I see that's you. Go ahead, bring them in when you can. As far as Sucker goes, and it happened to be that episode. And as I was listening and going through the photos to include in the montage, one of her, I guess I would say, proudest pictures is she's wearing her cognitive dissonance, I believe it was from Cogdis, glory hole t-shirt, which she altered, and in front of the glory hole donut shop. So it's in the montage, but I think out of any picture, really, I think that was her proudest. Was she was wearing the glory hole T-shirt and the glory hole donut shop where that the T-shirt is based on it, and it was just like I was listening to the podcast where you were explaining that in a past podcast she had mentioned and told it on air, and I just started laughing. So it's just that's to say, and I know for me, because I do have, more than most people would have, a lot of Deb's audio clips from her speaking at some of her atheist groups and, various, podcasts she's been on. So it was easy to kind of piece it together, but there were just so many of them. I think I figured it out the other day that if I were to include the full clips, like the entire show that she appeared on, it would come out to over 55 hours. I was like, there it is. I knew it was coming up. That's why I'm dawdling. That's her favorite pitch, I think. it would have been 55 hours at least of audio of just for guesting on other shows. And I was like, I think that's a little long for a live broadcast. So, but I know Greg has to depart soon. So, Greg, the floor is all yours.
Thanks a lot, Beth. For any of you who don't know me, I'm Greg Siska. I was a friend of Deb's here locally in Kitchener. We met just a little over 4 years ago at a creationist speaker, actually. A bunch of us had gone there. Information. I saw her from across the room, her little red atheist shoes. You could see the soles of, and I just knew I had to go over and meet. We became immediate friends. My life was impacted really positively. My life. She was always somebody I could go to talk to. We went to conferences, just talks, movies, pub nights, anything. Her smile was absolutely incredible. Her laugh was, like everybody had said, infectious. She was the nicest person you'd ever meet. You didn't mess with her, though. She'd tear you down in an instant if you got on her bad side. Not many people did, but she was always fair. And I think she's going to be remembered by a lot of people for a long time. She left not only a good legacy of her input into the atheist community, and also her fighting for and gay rights. That's made a huge impact as well. But I think the one thing that personally I feel is that she was, I often feel that she was a much better friend than I had deserved. But she did pick me, so I'm grateful for that. And we should just honor her memory by doing what we can to continue the good fight. And I just want to thank all of you for being part of this. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, Greg, I know personally, for me, because you were kind of my communication link, and Sammy as well, to what was happening up in Canada. And I think for many of us, the same applies. And Deb always spoke very highly of you.
I appreciate
especially, and I will personally say this, not to dwell on myself, but when I personally had to do a GoFundMe, it was, people like Greg and a few other Canadians that really did make my life a lot easier when I needed rent money. So I've had a kind of a connection with Greg since then, but I always knew what was going down with Greg as far as like the atheist meetups and those type of things. And I know you gave Deb rides when she had to stop driving due to her eyes and stuff like that, and she always appreciated it. And it was always, I would ask her, how's Greg doing? How's CF doing? Private individual, don't want to mention the name. And so I was always kind of in the loop, and I personally appreciated it, and I think everybody else appreciates everything you've done, and especially for Arnold during this time. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And
Okay.
thank you for being there for Sammy. Thank you for being there for Arno.
You're
And for
very
all of us,
welcome.
because you've been around and out through PM while I'm a slobbering idiot last week. So,
Completely understandable.
so who do we have next? Is that a Tucker I see? Oh, wait. Matt. I'm sorry. Looking at these tiny icons is really difficult. We'll go with Matt, and then we'll bring Tucker in after that.
Hey, everybody. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. I knew Deb only for a short time, not very long. But I've been on her show a couple of times, actually. She needed to fill in, so she had asked me if I wanted to fill in, and I said sure, and got to know her pretty well. And also through Facebook, we talked a lot, and she would always post things about stuff, and I'd comment on them, and sometimes we'd talk through Messenger and whatnot. But she seems like a really great person, and just listening to all the stories and all the places that she's been to and all the people that she knows. It's really great that people really got to know her, and I'm still in shock because I woke up that Sunday night to a notification on my Facebook that she had passed, and it was very shocking. So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in, and I'm gonna miss her. That's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. And
no problem. Thank you for having me on.
I've lost my train of thought because I'm trying to do 2 things at once. That was one of the things that Deb and I appreciate about the entire podcast community, because sometimes our guests had just interrupt us at the last minute, or sometimes they say they come on and then 5 minutes people, no, I don't want to do it, or whatever excuse or reason that they had been. There was a core few that we could always rely, so to speak, on to bring in. And Matt was always one of our go-to guys. Tucker, I know you did it a few times, and we'll get to you in a minute. Atheist Ranger filled in a few times at last minute, so that was always a nice thing, and that's something I'd like to continue once I get Beyond the Trailer Park rolling again. I'm already actually lining up guests, so. But Tucker, you're up next.
Oh boy, hang on. Let me show everybody Fuzznuts. Simply because when Deb was on the show, that was her favorite thing, was having him pop up on the screen behind me somewhere or on me. She'd immediately stop what she was doing and just go, "Oh, Fuzznuts," which, she loved her cats, and that's for all the wonderful things that she's done. That's what I'm going to miss the most, is seeing her updates about her kitten Vlad on Facebook, because you really got a sense of who she was, because even when he did something incredibly frustrating, she was still so very affectionate about him. And she was kind enough to be on my show, I think about 4 or 5 times. And she was a wonderful person, and I was lucky enough to meet her at ReasonCon and NanoCon. So I have trouble understanding how she could be gone in some ways, because I'm older than her, and I'm certainly not nearly as good a person as she was, and yet I'm still here. and you know, I just I don't know what else to add about her. You know, that hasn't already been said, because she, you know, we all agree she was a great person, and that's, you know, I mean, that's not really much of a description, but it is so applicable to her. She was kind. She, you know, I don't, even when she's, you know, had something to be angry about, there was still a compassion in her, you know, speaking. She, you know, she was the life of the party as well. You know, the times that we hung out, and she always had some, you know, she was always just going on and laughing and joking and having a great time. Guess that's about all I can really say. I will miss her.
Sorry, I was muted. I was listening to the file that you had sent me, Tucker, the other day. I didn't find the Fosnut part, but that's okay. But listen, you were, I think you guys were reading Tobit at the time. Is that the one you sent me? And listening back and forth to your commentaries was quite enlightening. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know how many times that was said during the recording. As I told people that send in audio clips or the clips that I pulled, regretfully, for some reason, it's not playing, so I'm going to post a video later tonight or sometime tomorrow, so it'll all be combined. But up next, we have someone, well, who I've known pretty much since I've known Deb. And I have watched her grow, literally. Okay. Maybe not literally. I probably shouldn't have used that word, but we'll stick with it.
Seen me grow a little bit at words, right?
Yeah, I realized when I said that it probably wasn't the best thing to say, but
no, I appreciate you noticing that, you know, hormone therapy.
Hey, I'm a dyke. What do you expect?
Oh, sweet thing. It's okay.
Supposedly, that's all we notice as dykes is someone's boobs. So
that's really.
Know. Although I'm a calf person and a hand person, so go figure.
Oh.
This is her daughter, Sam. Go for it, my dear.
Oh gosh. So I'm not a podcaster yet, but somebody was definitely nagging me to get the hell into it. So if there was ever a swift kick in the pants that I needed, maybe this was it. I met Deb when I was 8 years old. She caught me watching an adult video. Maybe we should turn that off, Sam. Maybe we should turn that off for now. Maybe Debbie Does Dallas isn't what you should be watching when you're 8. You know, maybe we could maybe we could find something a bit. We'll stick you with the Japanese version of Sailor Moon till you grow up. Okay, that'll be way better. That'll be way more PG-13. I promise. I promise. But I was the, I guess the victim byproduct of what y'all are trying to fight. I was raised heavily religious. I was abused under religion, and eventually I was orphaned and abandoned because of it. And when you're raised your entire life to think that every single person you're going to encounter is going to burn in a fiery hell forever unless you personally save them, it socially stunts you. It really does. It socially damages you. And Deb saved me. Truly. Truly. By removing that fairy tale of heaven, you can absolve that that fear of hell, that superstition that poisons you and that indoctrinates you, and you could actually be free. So when we mourn what she's created. We know she's not anywhere else. She's gone. She taught me that. She's not in heaven. There is no heaven. She taught me that. She gave me that hope. And I can't sacrifice that hope to have a fairy tale thinking that she's dancing around with Odin somewhere. Because she's not. She's not. But she did save me. I'm still here.
Well, I think, Sam, I remember...
At the funeral, if we missed it at the funeral. I'm now in the first week of my life not wanting to kill myself. Because of Mom. That was her last gift to me. I will never forget that.
Well, I remember, Sam, when she first told me that you came out, so to speak, with your transition, and she's like, well, she's going by Sam now, and as I was going through clips and going through whatnot, I have some original conversations from you. And it's really funny because I think about it, and I think we can attribute this to Deb, that, to be honest, I don't remember before that day. I mean, I do, but
I gotta drop my voice. That's just it. I gotta sound like this, or else everyone forgets who I was. That's just it.
Well, well, that's the thing. I don't even like consciously. I mean, I do I mean, I do remember, obviously, but that's. I see you as Sammy. I always have since that day, and I have watched you blossom. Oh, that's not a good word either.
I have though, and it's her fault. All of my shit, like a giant black cat necklace. Oh gosh, who inspired that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like she always kept me in the loop because, I mean, yeah, we were connected on Facebook, but we never really sat down and had a talk or anything like that bullshit. It was like, hey, how you doing? You know, little hearts back and forth, you know, that type of bullshit. I mean, regretfully, it took this to get us talking even more. And it's just, I think that Deb had that influence on others that were transitioning or thinking of transitioning or coming out as an atheist or anti-theist or, you know, leaving religion, but, you know, just kind of leaving it there until things developed. I mean, she had a way of leading and encouraging people, and that was one of the things she did with Sam, you know, with you, was that she said, well, she's going by Sam now, you know, and it was just like, which is unusual because I am terrible with pronouns. I am terrible with forgetting previous, and I fumble. But it was being around Deb, I've gotten better at that. I still fumble. I'm still terrible with pronouns with people, but she always brought that aspect to the fore for me. And part of the reason I saved some of her screenshots when she got into debates with anti-trans trolls was because of how she handled herself as far as dealing with that type of bullshit. You know, being that, I mean, I think one of the examples she used, you have no problem saying Miss or Mrs. Why would you have a problem with saying he, she, or they?
Exactly.
And it was stuff like that, just little simple things as far as, you know, transitioning, that even though I've been, quote, in the community for, you know, since I can remember, I mean, I've been a lesbian my entire life. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gay now, you know, that type of shit.
So, some bull dyke didn't sneak on you, like a bull dyke didn't
Yeah,
sneak on you one day? No, it wasn't. Achoo, you're gay. No, no.
yeah, no, it wasn't like, I mean, so I've always been part of it, but then again, I haven't. Yeah, I had a few friends outside of our immediate community that I knew were trans, but I never really knew, you know, like you, Riss, Kelly, who had to work tonight, so that's why she's not here.
Okay.
Celeste, Celia, Robin, you know, I went through my list one day and I'm like, damn, I have an awful lot of trans people on my list for someone who's like totally
We're
clueless.
everywhere.
Yeah, and it's just like, but I never thought of them other than who they are.
I will say this, that and I have yet to see it online or in person anywhere. I have yet to see a cisgendered ally on the caliber of Deb to this day.
And
I've yet to see that.
she was good at it. I mean, she put me to shame. And I have no qualms admitting that I try to be an ally. Sometimes I'm a really sucky one because, you know, I trip over the pronouns and all that stuff. But I never think, you know, for me, I know people before and after, for lack of a better word there. But I never think of people anymore as the before. I'm aware of it, obviously, but
we're always changing.
Yeah, well, and I think, you know, her bringing you into my life has helped in that matter. And
I've got a new aunt. Are you kidding me? We're fam, sweet thing. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You get a little teary-eyed for a moment. It's okay.
Yeah, you have a way of doing that.
So maybe I'll tell a cute story about Deb while Beth's recovering real quick. So, Deb liked to brag about having never been pulled over ever for a speeding ticket ever. And then I happened to be in the car the one time she did. So, you know, cute little 4'0" Deb, just, you know, driving along in her car with her sun hat on because it's summer and she's adorable. Just blaring Rage Against the Machine on the radio, just driving along. Didn't even see the police officer come up. And so as Buddy's walking up to the window and taps, and she's rolling down the window, literally on the radio, it's like, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me." Like she's like, "Hi there, officer. How can I help you?" That's like Deb in a circle, complete. If anyone needs that.
Okay, I have totally lost track of coming and going. Am I missing anybody's shoe? But
oh yes, I've ranted enough. I will mute.
Oh no, you can interject whenever you're damn well, please.
Well, you say that, but I'll rant all night. I've known her for 20 years. I'll rant all night.
Yeah, but we have another special person with us, which I'm also honored, and she has been a past guest along with her husband. Alishba,
Hi.
How are you?
All things considered, you know, I was feeling terrible because the day of the funeral there was a massive crash on 401 when we were going from here, and we got stuck in traffic for over 2.5 hours when we just had to turn around. So Yes, it was me. And we were in the car, Zoe was with me, and I was driving with Kevin, who is one of the guys here who helps us run the Halton Peel Region community, atheist community. So we left, and we left quite early too, but we still weren't able to make it. So I was like, that would have been my last chance, and it's so incredibly sad. When I found out, I had just spoken to Deb like a few days, maybe a week ago, about, because I'm a photographer, most of you know, so I was gonna do the family photo shoot. She'd been planning for it for some time. She just didn't get to it, but those few days, weeks before this happened, she was like, I want to do it sooner than later. So I want to get good memories of the family together with the adoption, with the wedding and everything. And then we were about to set up a date to do this. And that was the biggest reason why I was just like, I could not. I was like, this is not true. And then I found out, I went immediately to her page, and because one of our common friends told me, and everybody was writing reviews. I was like, what the fuck just happened? And it was the absolute worst thing, because she was at my place I think just towards the end of November, and that was the first time she came. And we were like, gonna see her and stuff. And then before then, we were in Alberta at the conference, Karen's conference, the Alberta Secular Conference, and Ali and I both went there. Zoe was there too. We were invited, and she was there, just like, she was like God everywhere. But the only difference is she actually existed. So yeah, she was there, and then we were gonna go to Banff for one day, and I talked her into coming with us, and that's where I took that photo of her. And I've got a couple more, and it's so strange. I've got so many photos of her on the gondola ride and everything. Not a single photo with her that particular day, but I got to spend an entire day with her out in a vacation spot where I fainted because of the altitude and everything. I just got a head rush when we got there. And she was just like, are you okay? She was giving me juice, and she was giving me food. She was like, just take it slow. And then it was like, those were the things I was thinking of, like my interactions, and always the biggest smile, always the biggest hug, always the warmest person. I don't think I have ever seen her on the wrong side of morality ever. Her thought process was incredibly clear. And that is not something I can say for a lot of people, especially in the atheist community. So her thought process was very, very clear. And in that during that time when we were in Alberta, oh my goodness, she told me a lot about her childhood and how painful it had been for her, and I didn't know anything about it until up to that point. And she went into detail about it, and I'm just so glad that those few days I got to spend with her, and really, and then we were in touch. Like, she would message me, she would text me, there was another atheist girl from Bangladesh in upstate New York who had just moved. She made a couple of trips to just give her support, that, hey, you're not alone, like, you have people here. She would do things like that. Like, she was that kind of person. Like, she would go out of her way to make people know that they're not alone and she's there for them. So, and that was like, she was like that stable face that you see, you're going to a conference, you're going to see Deb there, especially if it's a Canadian conference, you're going to see her there. You may not, the speaker might flake out, but she will be there. So, it was like, yeah, it was not, and like, she was like so sweet, man. Like, I can't, I just feel like really, really, I wish I had like harassed her a little bit harder into coming over and getting her photo taken sooner than she was planning to, because yeah, so that I would have like that entire day, one more day, that we were supposed to spend together.
She told me about that, Elishba. She ranted and ranted in a good way about how excited she was about doing those photos with you. We talked a few days before. She was over the moon, like looking forward to it beyond belief, doing that with you, sweet thing. Please know that.
Yeah, so that's why it was like, it was especially unbelievable. And I truly considered her like, a good friend, like somebody you can talk to about anything, and she won't judge you. And she was so brutally honest about everything too. So yeah, I'm sorry.
You're fine, Elishba. I think for me, and this goes to Ali as well, is I kind of sort of paid attention to issues dealing with the Muslim community, and specifically the ex-Muslim community. And for me, it was when the authors in Bangladesh were being slaughtered that, as a blogger, it's really hit home, because I'm like, fuck, I'm a blogger. I say some pretty extreme things. I don't have, being in the United States, I generally, for the most part, although sometimes I question that, don't worry about having my head cut off.
Mm-hmm.
And she introduced me to you via Facebook, and you and Ollie have both been on her show.
Mm-hmm.
And it really opened my eyes. I mean, Deb knew so many people. I mean, literally. And from a wide range of perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And, Deb was 9 years younger than me, and it was amazing because, this old dog knew some new tricks. Not explicit, though.
Old dog. Don't even. Old dog. Shujin's the old dog here. Don't even. Come on. All right.
No,
I think I'm actually older than 2. But that's beside the point.
No, but I think this speaks to her ability to be compassionate, right? Because she was never going to be in that situation. There was, I'm not going to be racist here. I'm just going to state a fact that it is very, very difficult for a lot of white people, even in the atheist community, to understand a lot of these things. And one of the recent events where it came out that it's very difficult for white people to understand what is going on is when Rahaf was given asylum in Canada. Holy shit, the kind of bigoted comments that I've seen on news articles. I was like, either they're like, Trump voters who are posing as Canadians, or something really.
No, not even needed. We have our own. We have our own here. Yeah, they follow someone called Ford, who's baby Trump, basically. Baby Trump, basically.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So when I saw those comments, and I was like, like she was, like in the comments, like they were like, oh yeah, like now she's gonna sponsor her 100 family members to come over. I was like, did you even bother to click on why she was granted the asylum? She's like running from those people, and it's very, very difficult for people who are never going to be in that situation, or are never in any way going to be physically connected to that situation, to relate to it. But she was one of those unicorns who could feel empathy and compassion all around, and she could really understand the consequences, immediate and larger consequences. And she would, like I said, go out of her way to make this world a better place. And I think she really did all that she could. Like when she started that reading a Quran thing, she was messaging me. She was like, okay, which one should I go with? And then I told her, I was like, this is probably the best one because least people have objection to this one. Go ahead with that one. And it was amazing that how she was taking up this thing that I'm just gonna go and read and comment on, like, and I read some of her commentary too, and it was quite hilarious the way she was doing it, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, it just speaks to her compassion, her ability to connect with people. I don't know a single person who disliked her in any way at all, unless they were extremely religious. So, which is a badge of honor. But yeah, like she really was the kind of person who would make friends really fast. I don't even actually remember how we became friends. Like that, it just feels like we were kind of always friends. So like that was like one of her personality things that you meet her and you're like, okay, I've like known you forever, and you just like start talking to her. And at least that was my impression with myself and anybody else I saw her interact with, even if she was interacting with them for the first time. And that is a very, very rare thing. And I have not seen that in a lot of people, but so like she was a gem all around. And I am so honored that I got to call her a friend, that I actually have memories of her, that she came to my house, that we've had wine and dinner and lunch together, that we've seen the vacation spots together. I am very, very honored that I have those memories with her. And I just hope that I will be able to teach Zoe that this is the kind of compassionate, sweet person. Um, that there's an example of that person in real life that we knew. And this is this woman. And definitely gone too soon. And it's hurt, and it's going to hurt for a very long time. I don't expect it to normalize. It'll be actually, I don't think filling a gap for a person like that can be easy or possible at all. So yeah, I just hope that all of us can, every once in a while, keep her memory alive and like talk about her. And yeah, I'm just rambling right now because my brain is again in the same state it was when I first found out, like kind of like fried, because this is actually the first time I'm speaking about it since then. And that's why I wanted to come to the funeral, to be able to connect with people and be like, and it just didn't work out. So this is the first time I'm putting myself in that space again, and it's just not working. It's frying my brain.
Sweet thing, there were many people who wanted to be there who couldn't. It took every spoon and an extra anxiety pill and some booze for me to be able to fucking handle it. So please do not, no self-hate on that, okay, love? Please.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that was the reason that I wanted to be there, so that we could all connect. And kind of.
I want to meet you.
Yeah, kind of acknowledge. That's why I'm saying that since Sunday morning, this is the first time I'm acknowledging that this has happened.
Makes it real, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because many of Deb's friends who were not local who might have run into the problem I have, is that my passport has not come yet, which Deb and Arno helped purchase. So I knew there was no way I'd be able to make it up for the funeral. And the wedding was a question mark. And I know for me personally, while I do grieve, and I'm probably going to have waves even months from now, I'm hoping to give people a wee bit of closure that could not make it to the funeral for whatever reason. And, to make it real. Not that it isn't real, but just to give people an outlet to say, hey, you know, love you, man. And hopefully I pulled that off. I don't know if I think I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and Alicia, I am very honored that you have come. And for those that don't know, I know Alicia through Deb. Gee, shocker there. I follow the antics of your little one via Deb. Well, I'm connected to you on Facebook as well. So I love seeing the photos of your little one as she grows. And there's also a few other people, I'm not going to mention them publicly because I don't know if they want to at the moment, who I also adore seeing pictures of their little one. So for me, you know, for people that I know virtually through Facebook, it's really enjoyable. And Deb's opened my eyes to, I mean, everybody here is through, you know, podcasting or the podcast community or her skeptic community up in Canada. And it's just amazing because she introduced me to Ollie's work, and I have his book that actually is getting quite page worn because it's just so good. Atheist Muslim, for those of you that aren't aware of the book that I'm speaking about. And we've had Ollie on our show, and that's the thing. I mean, picking and choosing and who to contact.
I'm looking at it right now. We have it right here behind us.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably somewhere on her desk.
This one, right?
Yes. I mean, for her and I, well, specifically for me, it was basically a Bible into the ex-Muslim community.
Mom's Library is the reason that I have a brain. Mom's Library is the reason that I was able to read something that wasn't written by Christians or filtered by Christians. Like I could read real knowledge.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody who has shared, everybody who has, you know, watched the show, you are all a big part of her life. So keep that in the back of your mind. And we have the internet and podcasting and all that other fun stuff to remember her by. So if you ever need to hear her laugh, just pull up a podcast. I can guarantee you she's laughing somewhere along the line. But we have a couple tributes that were emailed private message to us that the folks could not be here, or in Kate's case, she has no voice, so she asked me to read it. And I believe you have one also? Okay, do you want to go first?
Yeah, unfortunately, only because my time is starting to get very limited.
Okay.
Because I've got a DJ set that I would have normally been doing at the bottom of the hour, and I've already pushed it up to the top, so I've got about 15-ish minutes left. But this one was sent along by Along Blackhawk. He's not able to be with us because of technical reasons. Pain in the ass is basically what it comes down to. Sorry, man, but thank you for letting me read your words for you. And he sent this along. Deb helped me through some tough shit. We talked quite a bit about heavy shit when I was really down, and I'll never forget talking with her on My Secular Savior and how much that helped me. I just went and got a 32 of Old English. I wanted to pour one out with y'all, but I'll just do it myself. Thank you, man. I'm sorry that you couldn't be with us because of all the shit that's gone on, technically speaking, but thanks for being part of it all. I know full well that I speak on Beth's behalf that, you know, we're glad you're able to be with us in the way that you can, and I'm sure that Heretic Woman would have basically said, "Get the hell over yourself! Oh my God, so serious!
Exactly.
Spring for the 40. What are you wasting your time with 32 for?" I'm pretty sure she would have said something like that. Pretty sure.
What are you drinking, a juice box or what? Like, let's go. Come on.
It's only 32 ounces. You don't want to waste any by pouring it out. Come on.
Yeah. And the tribute I have is from Kate Ashcraft, and it says, "Deborah's passing has shocked the community. rocked the lives of her loved ones, and brought sorrow into our own life. Oops, I scrolled too far. My last meeting with her was in Charlotte, where I took her to some lunch at a local Five Guys near our hotel. It was sunny that day, and she had her usual sandals, sundress, and big floppy sun hat and glasses. Yeah, she loved going down south because she could wear that stuff. In Canada, where she was at, you couldn't. We caught up on things and laughed because we'd worked together plenty of times prior to this, but there's something different about conversation and camaraderie when you are with someone in person. Seeing her again and getting to wrap my arms around her short little form compared to my tall one was always hilarious to me. She was always so welcoming and made you feel like you'd be chums for decades, despite the sometimes years between seeing each other in person. We'd mostly had contact online over the past 4 years or so, and spent many of the night and afternoons and mornings fussing over compatibility issues with setting up Banana Meter and X. But Kate, where were you during the week? I could have used you, because that's what I'm now using. On my old ass computer, or working with me to try and salvage recordings from her phone of Dawkins and other popular speakers she was fortunate to follow all over North America. North American continent, sorry about that. Her support helped me to create even more podcasts with Unbuckle the Bible Belt, and that experience has taught me so much and helped me create a career that I love. She was someone you could open your heart and worries to, never making you feel a burden or a downer if you needed to vent. I can relate to that. Over the past few years, she became a private role model for me. I never mentioned this to her because she would pish-posh me for saying something so silly. But she showed me a new level of interacting with people around me, especially with being tolerant and allowing dissenters to stay and have a voice. Sorry, scrolling. This is something I hope our community will reflect on about her and try to practice. Her methods for understanding people enhance my own approaches. I've forged so many more friendships because of her methods. As an only child, I rarely find instant kinship. Oh shit, scroll too far again. With someone, and Deborah was one of those rare instances. She acted as I imagined a sister would, being fiercely supported in everything she did, and of those she cared about. If in a debate with I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but in a debate with Islamic apologists, we've hit that topic quite a few times, or just chiming in on some thoughts on a contentious issue in the community, the instant anything went over the line into a personal attack, she would smack the offender down a few notches in a heartbeat. She never judged you for your mistakes, and the relief she would bring me in some of those conversations truly saved my motivation, determination, and my life. I learned some important things from her that I have made a part of my own life. Don't take any bullshit and do so graciously or with quick quit. Stand up for those who need your voice. Be genuine and sincere always. Make goals and support others trying to reach their own. Listen, no matter how fucking crazy they are. Listen and understand before trying to teach differently. I got too many windows opening. Be a friend, a confidant, and a problem solver. like many, coming to grips with her death is still pulling a lot of raw emotions out of me that I didn't expect to face so soon. I am left to re-listen to her voice messages she sent me on Facebook, her laugh, her nonchalant dismissals, her mischievous sarcasm, that all mischievous sarcasm. That's all I have left in physical form. But she left such a massive legacy for us all to share in her works and influence. Goodbye, Deb. I'm forever close to my heart and alive through my own aches. And that was from Kate Ashcraft. Sorry, didn't mean to slaughter her name. So we are coming up on our. Oh, actually, we have passed our normal ending time. So I'm going to put out one last call for anybody who would like to join us live. I will give you a minute or two. And while we do that, I would like Zach and Bryce, if they are still available, to come back on. And
yes,
then
I believe Bryce wanted to say something else before he left.
Right. And if any of you guys on the panel here that are present virtually have anything to say, we'll wrap it up, because I'm going to lose Shujin in a few minutes. And to be honest, I don't think I would be able to flip back and forth between screens. I would get really lost, and God knows I might stop the broadcast again, like I did the last time.
I understand that all too well. I've had my share of doing that, and I'm gonna stick out as long as I can for you. Plus, I did find a way of getting my audio to play for you from that recording.
Okay, that's good to know. So what we will do, just to forewarn somebody, we will do the Humanist Creed first, and then we will go to Shujin's presentation. And what it is there was a song that has always been near and dear, I guess, just so to speak, by Linkin Park. And I thought it was a fitting ending for tonight's show. So if anybody else wants to come in, do we have any notifications, anybody? I don't think I do. Let me check real quick.
Well, Bryce did want to try and
yeah, I got Bryce's. So as soon as you can bring him back in, go ahead and do it. And I think what we will do is start to wrap up. So I'm going to open the floor to Dave, who... Oh, before I forget, we'll do this first. We will do Bryce's little thingy. He wants to play If You Drink, You Die.
No. You're reading the wrong thing entirely. Bridget would like to speak. Bryce was asking me something that's entirely different, and I've got my thing to record. So
okay,
I think
Bridget, you go first.
I just wanted to say that I'm going to miss Deb very, very much. I first met her at ReasonCon 2, where I also met Professor Stephen and Foda and Zach, and we went traipsing through the graveyard and tried to do a video, and as far as I know, the video just did not come out. But getting to talk to her, it was like talking to someone I'd known all my life. We had started talking about hockey and Rush and Tchaikovsky and Tim Hortons and all these things that she hated, even though she was Canadian. And I told her she was a very bad Canadian. And she gave me this keychain that said, Canada, eh? And next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. And we're like, we have really got to go get some sleep. And Foda, the whole time he's over in the corner of the room on Facebook, just watching us talk. And that was probably one of the most fun nights that I'd had in a long time. And the last conversation that I had with Deb, we were, just getting so excited about the wedding. And I had told her that her wedding present had come in. And I was also getting her a monogrammed polar fleece sweatshirt that was red with black monogram, and we were trying to figure out what initials to have on it. And the shirt came in this week. That's really, really tough. And it's not something that I can take back. Not that I would want to. I also want to thank her for her work that she did on My Secular Savior. That's where I met Paul. And I donated money to their Patreon, and I think I was the only person to donate, and it was like $2 an episode. But I know that with the Kavanaugh hearings and all that going on, that really, because of my childhood, it brought up some issues. And she had shared part of her, childhood with me over, the last few years. And she really did a lot to help get me through that. And I'm going to have a big hole where she was, but I learned so much from her, and I will continue to learn. And I'm going to miss her. She was my friend. And that's all I've got to say.
And Renee, please accept my apologies. I was a numbnuts and totally forgot.
That's okay.
Yeah, this was an interesting experience as far as putting this all together. So, Bryce, you had something you wanted to share.
Your mic is muted currently. Even though it says it's not muted, you don't have any audio coming through.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So I just wanted to kind of close my piece and just say that the death is kind of a hard thing for a lot of us to deal with, but we all have each other here to help each other through it. And reminiscing and sharing the life and times and the legacy of Deb, I think, is probably the way that she would want us to deal with this. And that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough to figure out a way to properly memorialize somebody. But I want to, just for my final piece, share something that I think all of the original AOA people will really resonate with. And this is something that it's near and dear to my heart. It's a song that I've kind of taken as a personal theme, and I learned about it through AOA. And it has just been, from that time forward, it has been, I don't know, the central point in it, I think, is something that Deb truly embodied every day of her life and really made a difference in the world by embodying the idea of this song. So I will play it. 3.5 minutes. I hope everybody doesn't mind sticking around.
Well, I'm sitting here waiting on a nuclear war, and when I see that mushroom, I'll be crying for more. I think I'd like to be at ground zero and go out on the very first wave. It's kind of like drinking. If you drink, you die, and if you don't drink, you die anyway. And if you don't drink, you die anyway. In the morning, I'll be spraying stuff under my arm, and I'm thinking that aerosol is doing me harm. I'm probably gonna die of skin cancer, cause the ozone is fading away. It's kind of like smoking. If you smoke, you die, and if you don't smoke, you die anyway. And if you don't smoke, you die anyway. Well, there's crimes of passion and there's crimes of war. I got a life sentence with the girl next door. I think I'll fly around in jetliners till a terrorist blows me away. It's kind of like loving. If you love, you cry, and if you don't love, you cry anyway. And if you don't love, you cry anyway. Hey. Well, there's terror taking over in the foreign lands where they're fighting over oil, and I don't understand how many soldiers per gallon are we pumping in our cars today. It's kind of like voting. If you vote, they lie, and if you don't vote, they lie anyway. And if you don't vote, they lie anyway. Once upon a time there was a bubonic plague, and at a time there was a Vietnam War. I used to worry about dying till I wondered what the worrying's for. So if you're gonna worry about it, then you're already dying today. It's kind of like living. If you live, you die, and if you don't live, you die anyway. And if you don't live it up, you're dead anyway. Hey.
Deb lived, Deb died. She lived the right way. She was a truly incredible person. Thank you for allowing me a final piece.
Thank you, Bryce. I forgot all about that song.
Thank you, Bryce. Thank you.
Okay, one last call. Does anybody, Dave, I'm going to get to you in a second. Anybody else want to say anything before I close? I think Morgan did.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, I feel like my eyeballs are gonna pop out of my head and float away from like just this week. It's just crazy. But I was just gonna say that Deb, I mean, she truly was like family to me. And I have never met somebody that was so compassionate and so open just to anybody. And she truly beat by her own drum. And not in like a, oh, I'm weird and quirky on purpose way, but like that's just who she was. She was truly one of the most unique people I've ever known. And she was so genuine too. Like there was not a false thing about her. And it's just, God, this is all so fucked up. Like it just is. It just is. And I don't know. There's part of me that's still like, oh, if I don't think about it, if I don't acknowledge it, then it's not real, you know? And, but it is. And it fucking sucks. And I know she'd be telling me, like, get your life together, Morgan, you know, it's fine, but damn, like, I fucking miss her every fucking day. And I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And I'm just really honored that she even thought of me to be a co-host on this show, like truly. Because I've always thought I was just some dumb redneck with, you know, not a lot of important or insightful things to say.
Why not both?
And
well, you
look
are
at the
not
family you have
a
now.
redneck, my dear.
Look at the family you have now. We
Yeah.
all love you, girl.
And I think the biggest thing in your regards was when we were down in Tennessee and we sat up till God knows what time it was, 5:30, and you really did open my eyes. And I have no problem saying this publicly, that I don't, and I'm not saying this as a slight to anybody either, but this is the only terminology that I have for it, is I am not a social justice warrior. I find it baffling because in my mind, I treat people how people treat me and vice versa. I don't care if you're, as I said, gay or straight or bi or trans. You're a person. That's how I treat people. This labeling thing, and I think I said this down in Tennessee to you, Morgan, was that it's very confusing to me. And it could be because I have 30-odd years over you, where you're more in tuned to the more recent political climate. And you really opened my eyes, and I think that's why, when we decided to bring you on, I was like all for it, because I was like, yeah, I gotta really get in tune with this shit, because I admit I'm clueless on some of it, and I think that's the perspective that whether you're on beyond the trailer park or when you've done stuff with Trish or no religion required, you bring that perspective that people need, and that's what Deb appreciated about you. And I know you and I have gone back and forth in PM about especially law stuff, and it was an honor to work with you with Deb, and I. Not pushing for an answer, but I would like to continue that.
I would certainly like to possibly pick up where she left off too, if you have room for a third.
Yeah, there's options that we are working on. So, but yeah, Deb loved you to death. Don't ever forget that. So, generally, we close out our shows with what is called the Humanist Creed. And it was written by friend and supporter of the show, Dave Photo. He's going to read it live for us. After Deb is done, Shujin is going to play a closing piece, the music that I told you about, and then we will end the show. I want to thank everybody.
Thank you for bringing us together.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing
so much.
Thank you, Beth. You did this. You did this, Beth, okay?
Yes.
I had a lot of help behind the scenes, as some of you know. Can you test this? Yeah, at 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm a night owl. But
I woke up at 2:30 for your butt.
Yes, I know you did.
Go back to bed, Sam. I don't need you tonight. Go back to bed, Sam.
Yeah, that was when I had to work the next morning unexpectedly. But I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave, who was a large, and I mean very large, impetus for Beyond the Trailer Park even existing. But
Thank you for that, Beth. I'm a big fan of language history, etymology, and the word death comes from the Old English dea, D-E-A, and it's basically a total cessation of life, the act of dying, or the state of being dead. I don't really think that you can apply that to Deborah. And the reason that I say that, grandfather died a few years ago. I wrote a little piece in memory of him. And at the very end of it, I said, our legacy is in how we are remembered by those we leave behind. And as long as that memory is alive, that person never really dies. I remember when Deborah was first started talking about doing something along the lines of BTTP, and she and I had several conversations, and then later Beth came in, and Deborah was she was disappointed that AOA had to go on hiatus, and she really wanted to do something. And I noticed that it wasn't just the show, it was in everything that she tried to do. She wanted to make a positive difference. Just look at Samantha. This was another way that she was trying to make a positive difference. And it didn't matter if the positive difference was in one person's life or a whole lot of people's lives, but she was passionate about that. And one of the things that she was most passionate about was humanism, the idea or the reality that we humans here on Earth are the only ones who will work together, who can work together to solve any problem or issue that comes our way. I remember we were talking about her having an infectious laugh, and I think that laugh is something that I'm going to remember most of all about her. Especially even in conversations that she and I would have privately, it was that laugh. In July of 2016, when Samantha Bannister died, there was a person who commented on Jeremiah's page, and the comment inspired me to write a poem that I called The Comet, but I'm going to read to you their comment instead of my poem. Her legacy may be that of a comet. Picture a comet gracing the night sky and filling up the canvas with beauty and light, making everyone stop what they are doing, stand up, slow down, and pay attention to watch in awe as it glides majestically across the sky. People gazing into the horizon, looking up as it fills them with hope, peace, and the feeling they just saw something great happen. The comet is here 1 second and gone the next, but by those who experienced it, never to be forgotten. I don't think Deborah is ever going to be forgotten. And down the road, those who do are probably not in the same camp with Deborah anyway. Deb had always threatened, I guess, to get me to read that humanist creed on the show live, and it just never worked out. So I'm going to do that right now. I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision and of true and accurate righteousness. I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, of physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of the cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma. Deb, you will be missed. say hi to Hitch for us.
Mm.
Good night.
Thank you, Dave. And Sue, you're up.
Thank you. Just as a fair warning, I will not be able to hear it, so if it's a little bit too loud, my apologies. There's just so much that I can do because I'm pumping it from my phone through my mixer board. Such is life. Should have stayed. Were there signs I ignored? Can I help you not to hurt anymore? We saw brilliance when the world was asleep. There are things that we can have but can't keep. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in a sky of 1,000,000 stars, it flickers and flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, we're quicker and quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. The reminders pull the floor from your feet. In the kitchen, one more chair than you need, and you're angry, and you should be. It's not fair. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't there. If they say, who cares if one more light goes out in a sky of 1,000,000 stars, flickers, flickers. Who cares when someone's time runs out if a moment is all we are? We're quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Who cares if one more light goes out in a sky of 1,000,000 stars flickers, flickers? Who cares when someone's time runs out? If a moment is all we are, we're quicker, quicker. Who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. Well, we do.
Thank you all, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Oops, wrong button.